Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Aye, aye, Captain!
Good! In you go!
Hey guys, it's time once again for another reading. This one has been long overdue. Today we're going to be reading... I'm sorry. This is Spongecry.2.avi. Okay, I was under the impression that it would be called Spongecry2, but right out of the gate, we're just showing what kind of quality we're dealing with. I said, I believe, a year ago, almost a year ago at the time of recording this, that I knew there was a Spongecry sequel and that I would be reading it soon. This is soon. So, sorry. I guess here we go. This doesn't look that long, but it looks a bit longer than the original. So here we go. This is SponecryII.avi. Well, it has only been 2 years since I viewed Spongecry.avi, and I'm far from recovering from such a shock after viewing the clip. My computer's been taken to Best Buy for repairs, and to hopefully have the Spongecry.avi video eliminated from my PC forever, along with my System 32. Hopefully, it will not haunt the doorsteps of my mind ever again. I should be getting a call from them by the end of the week, if not longer. When does this story take place, like, time frame wise? Like, how are you telling this story in regards to time frame? Because, like, the other one was entirely past tense. This one seems more like a diary entry or something. Oh god, this is the Sonic.exe round 2 of Spongebob creepypastas. That's not a sentence I hoped I would ever have to say. That would do my well-being a world of good to see that godforsaken video of SpongeBob crying and turning into a decomposing mess every 10 seconds gone forever. It'll still be there though, in your mind, in your memories. But one question lingers after I looked at the video clip that day. Who the hell wrote, "One-timed action will be bedaldly" anyway? I went to a hacker friend of mine who was able to translate the gobbledygook that was in the video, and maybe he could tell me what it meant. He was much braver than I was to view Spongecry.avi and asked me to leave the room. He was presumably above the age of 7, maybe 7.5 at least. 17 years old, I was close, off by only a decade, and had a lot of valor. After all, he was my best friend and was willing to do anything. I heard him say to me, "Dude, it's fine, you can come back in, video's not playing." Also, it wasn't even scary to begin with, it was pretty funny actually. After deciphering the text from the original Spongecry video, which was indeed written in the style of a preschooler, again, I could make a joke, not gonna do it. Here's what he said. "One-time actions will be deadly." I looked at him skeptically. "What does that mean anyway?" I asked him. The voice I heard on the video, that of SpongeBob crying, was not Tom Kenny at all, he replied. "Well, that's all fine and dandy and everything, but what the hell does that have to do with this text you just translated?" He picked up his bottle of Pepsi with the logo facing out that he had been drinking, took a swig, and placed the glistening wet bottle down on his head. It sounds like an ad! It, honest to God, sounds like a fucking Pepsi ad. Like, you remember that scene in that shitty movie World War Z, where it's like, he's just about to go take care of all these zombies, but before that, he grabs a can of Pepsi and is just like, ah, nice and cool and refreshing. It's exactly like that. "Dude," he said calmly, "I'm getting to that. Don't even worry about it, brah. The shitty looking scribble I saw that looked like it was written by a preschooler. It's too real to be CGI or using any video software, man. It was written by a person on an actual animation cell, which would explain why the Crayola crayon writing looked too real." What? All these specific brand names. Like, you got the Pepsi and the Crayola, Best Buy. is this a sponsored pasta? It feels like it.
Contractor, no. I will not bow to any sponsor.
We hit the road from Malibu to Los Angeles City looking for answers. First of all, deeply ashamed that this is apparently a Californian creepypasta. Second of all, no one goes from Malibu to Los Angeles City looking for anything but presumably work. You don't go there for any other... You want to go fucking drive by LAX? You want to do that? Be my fucking guest. Go down the fucking 405? Like, why would you? Just stay in Malibu. Go to Duke's. It's a great restaurant. Right by the beach. Look at the dolphins. Just, you're making your life so much more complicated than it needs to be when you're living in Malibu. You live in fucking Malibu! God damn it! Fuck you! My friend was planning to have the video analyzed and to piece together the puzzle from when that video was made. So, that wasn't Tom Kenny's voice? I asked him, as I watched the sun go down over the Malibu horizon as we drove. After all, it would only be 50 minutes until we reached Los Angeles. Poor bastards, they don't know what they're getting into. It was a woman's voice, dude. Tom Kenny himself would not break down and cry that real and intensely when he was doing any episode of SpongeBob. I know this, dude, because I know him personally. We have the same weed dealer. Because smoking weed is hilarious. When you see SpongeBob crying on any episode, you know it's comical. But the woman who was heard crying in place of Tom, something didn't seem right, he said. After going to the police with the story, no crime has been committed. No crime has been committed here. It's just a dumb episode of SpongeBob that's been edited. You're going to the police with this. To the police. There's not even a black man involved. What do the police care? On this one episode of Spongebob Squarepants, Tom Kenny, who never missed a voice acting session in his life, I find that somewhat difficult to believe because he's a human being and probably gets sick or has like jury duty. Why is sick leave capitalized there? Like it's a name? Like, hi, my name is Leave. Call me sick. And the episode was put on hold. A woman in her mid-20s... Okay. I'm making the time out gesture, because time the fuck out. Shouldn't the voice acting be like the first... one of the first things you get down for an episode? Because you need the animators to actually animate over the voice clips. So shouldn't that have been done a while ago to the point where it wouldn't delay the episode? Fuck off. I'm starting to think that this story is fictional. I also apologize if I throw my voice out, because I've just gotten over being sick twice in a row. A woman in her mid-20s, the same voice heard in the Spongecry video, claimed she was a family member of Tom. You're not exactly on a first-name basis with the guy. And said she could do any SpongeBob character known to man, especially SpongeBob, and asked the production crew, even Steven Hillenburg, the show's creator, if she could fill in for Tom while he was out. I'm sorry. Any SpongeBob character known to man because you're the same family as Tom Kenny. It's just like, oh, Tom's actually here for work right now, but you know what? We need you to do the Patrick voice. So it's like 20-year-old fucking woman's just like, hey guys, it's me, Patrick. Wanna go jellyfishing? Just like, oh hey, could you do a Squidward voice? Or how about Mr. Krabs? Could you do Plankton for us, please? Could you do any of these characters that require like some baritone? They didn't see any harm done in that, aside from like, having an obviously different, voice performer for an entire episode and leaving that completely unexplained. But the one weird thing I couldn't put my finger on is, why would this woman ask the animation and audio crew to leave the room? Did she want to do this herself? Was she really that talented at animating and voice acting? I'm sorry. First of all, what is the animation crew doing in the same room as the voice actors? They should have like the storyboards for this done. That's mostly what American animators do before they ship it off to Korea for the in-between animations where it's done for like 60 cents a person. Like, just like the script's already written. You're going to be reading off the script. The people have already storyboarded it. Just, I don't understand. You have no understanding of the animation process. Even I am I'm very limited in my understanding of the animation process. As far as I'm concerned, most of it is magic. But this is less than me. This is less understanding than I have for animation. Sure seemed like it, since nobody was allowed to enter the recording studio where the voice actors went. And since it was soundproof, this gave the woman a lot of time to do the cartoon. She was just doing the whole fucking thing herself. Did her name happen to be Mary Sue Kenny? Is that where we're going with here? I also found out that the cartoon was originally going to be No Weenies Allowed, which is a fantastic episode. But this young woman had entirely different plans for this episode. She was immediately kicked the fuck out of the studio, cause you can't just barge in as a voice actor, and rewrite the entire episode from the ground up, animate it yourself. Like, this is Nickelodeon Studios. I'm baffled right now. I'm almost literally speechless. My voice is giving out. I just accidentally hit the keyboard and scrolled down. Who is this woman? I don't understand what's happening. She looked at the script where she stood near the microphone where Tom Kenny originally stands. I don't know if that's our first tense swap. It may well be. It's certainly the first one I've noticed. Was about to say her lines, and for no apparent reason, she breaks down crying, screaming, as if she was crying over the loss of a loved one, or finding a family member dead from a heart attack. It's a fucking hell of a run-on sentence there, and just... Was that like 2 tense swaps in one sentence? Maybe 3? Again, nobody bothered her. Nobody came into the studio, and what seemed like an eternity was actually 90 minutes. You could have watched a decent movie in that time. I could be doing literally anything else right now. I could have watched an episode of SpongeBob in the time it's taken to record up to now. The woman came out of the studio, looking and acting normal, even though she had teary-looking eyes, and ran into Bill Fagerberg, the voice behind Patrick Star. Fagerberg asked her, "Are you okay?" She told him that her tears from where she was She told him that her tears from where she Oh, fuck off. You fucked up everything. You fucked up everything here. From where she was laughing too hard after reviewing the finished episode and then smiled. Bill chuckled and commented on her doing a good job. He didn't know if she did a good job, and neither did anyone else, cause she kicked everyone else out of the room. And that was the end of the day. My friend's mother, who worked as a phone tapper for the LAPD, was able to identify the voice. How about fuck yourself? The voice you heard in the clip was the ex-girlfriend of one of the animators at the Nickelodeon Animation Studio. You're just pulling shit out of your ass. How would a policewoman... Okay, first of all, in order to identify that voice, first of all, they'd need to have a very identifiable voice. One that you'd have to have heard that voice a lot in order to, pick it out of a fucking lineup. So you have to be very familiar with the person. So what a fucking contrivance that your friend's mom just happens to not only be a phone tapper for the LAPD, they also happen to know this person personally, apparently, in order to identify the voice, like, oh yeah, I know who that is. And I also know her relation to people at Nickelodeon Studios. Fuck off! Fuck off with that. Like the first story, the first Spongecry.avi was it was just a series of dumb and funny things happening in a sequence of an episode of SpongeBob. This is honestly like the Sonic.exe round 2 of Spongecry.avi. It's like a detective story, and it has nothing to do with an AVI file called SponecryII.avi. Thus far, I'm decently far into the story. Nothing's happened yet. It's like lore. It's like reading lore on one of the worst creepypastas I've ever read. That is shockingly bad. Oh my god. She had been stalking the animator after he got married. When he blew her off too many times, her actions became more and more erratic. She even went so far as to kill and disembowel his poor dog. Other officers caught and arrested her for animal cruelty and stalking. So this is a character we like, clearly. And, And now this just raises more questions as to why was she allowed in the studio? Did this happen before or after this? I'm at a loss for words. This is so dumb. This is like mind-bafflingly stupid. Like Squidward's suicide didn't know how this shit worked either. This is deaf. It's blind and deaf and dumb. It has no idea what the animation process is like. It has no idea what it's like in the studio. I'm blown away. I'm not even exaggerating. I wish I was exaggerating like some kind of Let's Player. This is my genuine surprise at what a sharp turn this story has taken. Oh my god. Can you tell I'm still a little bit sick?
We'll be right back to SpongeBob Squarepants on Nickelodeon. Now we're back to SpongeBob Squarepants on Nickelodeon.
I've returned from expelling the concentrated evil from my body, which is to say I went to the bathroom. I'd like to point out that this is the second story on the channel so far that has been so bad that it's made me have to use the restroom in the middle of the story. You may recall in 000, I mentioned that I had to take a shit. The story was so bad I had to take a shit. Yep. Same deal here. Like, move over, Spongecry.avi. I want to say move over Squidward's suicide. Cause, like, no kids have died yet. A dog's died, but it's like, that was short. It was explained away in a sentence. There was obviously some pity for the animal. This, though. This. If it goes that far, if it gets to the dead, mutilated kids, yeah, worse than Squidward's suicide. We'll see where we get there. But why did the clip only last a near 7 minutes and the handwriting done by a preschooler? What about that? I asked. That message was written by the woman's 3-year-old son as per her request. The word is per, like a cat, purr. The cartoon itself was supposed to last 30 minutes like any other SpongeBob episode. Actually, an episode lasts 11 minutes, like a 2-episode block. That would be 22 minutes. You gotta factor in commercial time there. The other half of the cartoon became lost in the internet. It could be anywhere. The police commissioner came into the office. Right. I had forgotten that we were at a police station. Because the idea of going to the police over a SpongeBob episode is so baffling. Who came into the office was carrying a cup of coffee for me, a soda for my best friend, and a bottled water for my friend's mom. I overheard you talking about the last SpongeBob cartoon that was supposed to be filmed in place to No Weenies Allowed, he said, giving us our drinks and pulling up his pants around his rotund belly. See, this reminds me of, like, the lost episode of SpongeBob that was, like, supposed to be this big special. And, like, I remember that they hyped the shit out of it. And, like, during the episode 2, they were, like, hyping the shit out of it because Patchy the Pirate is, like, going around, like, oh, I got to find a lost episode. And then he, like, digs it up out of a playground or something. And it goes back and puts the DVD in. It's just a bunch of cheap walk cycles. Like, wouldn't that be great if that's what the second AVI video was? Like, there's all this dumb lore and shit, and then this, like, barely literate asshole pops the DVD in, and it's just like,
That's it? That's the last episode? That was just a bunch of cheap walk cycles! What a rip!
I would actually love this story if it did that. What do you know about the cartoon? I asked. I was feeling tired and hungry. The coffee he gave me should be able to perk me up during this time. This time right now, because we've just swapped tenses. I felt like I wanted to sleep for a damn year. Rumor has it that the cartoon never aired, and no weenies allowed was shown instead, which was a big load off of everyone's shoulders. My two little daughters are big SpongeBob fans, and so am I. I'm just imagining this big, fat police chief, like, just chewing on a donut, just like, hey, we gotta wrap up this patrol soon. I don't want to miss a new episode of Spongebob Squarepants. Anyway, I was reading an article on Yahoo, which said that the cartoon you were talking about got circulated via mobile text message. So if that's the case, and anyone who finds it, we can put it into this mess, the police commissioner said, shoving a donut into his fucking cake hole. At that moment, where I thought that everything was working out fine, I felt my stomach froze. Not gonna say anything. As I noticed a message displayed on my iPhone. All this fucking brand naming shit. Oh, on Yahoo, complete with like the little exclamation mark. My iPhone. Gotta make. Oh, are you what kind of iPhone was it? Was it the 5S? iPhone 7? What do you got there, huh? One missed called. I hate this story. I hate this story. It's like almost competent, but then every so often there's just like this little. It's like stirring pasta in. It's like stirring pasta with a fork in the pot, you know? It's just like, oh, things are going well. You get that horrible fucking fork scraping noise. It's just like, that's what reading this story feels like. Except, I don't even get the reward of eating pasta at the end of this. I was about to brush it off and thought that it was just another telemarketer trying to sell me something, like a vacation to some island, until I noticed that the attached item that came with the message. What is it, man? My friend asked. He noticed a look of concern and confusion on my face. I think I found the cartoon, I replied, my voice nearly fading. Open the video, the police commissioner said calmly. My friend's mom was anxious to see the other half of the cartoon. After the video roared to life, it was a dinosaur. It didn't resume like a video would that you see on YouTube when you got to part 2 or whatever. It showed the regular introduction, with Patchy the Pirate being his jolly old self, kids singing the Spongebob Squarepants theme, and Spongebob playing the flute with his nose! We got to that part! He played the flute with his nose again. Also, that's not even Patchy the Pirate in the opening. That is a different character named Painty the Pirate. Please get your Spongebob lore right. Thanks.
I be just a painting of a head.
After the created by Steven Helleberg byline was displayed, I didn't hear any music, just the sound of a heart beating. It was the intro to Dark Side of the Moon. Then, very faintly, various news report audio clips. Authorities continue to release details of the moitas. They still have no explanation as to why it all happened. I then heard the sound of a woman weeping softly. This was starting to get a little scary. Well, it's about fucking time, because I've been recording this for 30 minutes. The clips continued. The medical examiner says he expects to positively identify most victims. A file cabinet in the refrigerator and open boxes. The police department continues to be flooded with calls from families and missing loved ones. Says he killed even more. Arrested on suspicion of mass murder. Some of these murders at least have been committed outside the city limits. The title screen came up. Spongebob Cry 2. A fucking sequel? I love how it's just written like that. Like, that is my initial response upon hearing this existed. It's just written like, a talking cat? Just as I remembered, SpongeBob in his big red chair, all the furniture gone. Poor little Gary, laying dead, lifeless, and mauled beyond recognition. I wanted to cry because I saw Gary dead. Poor little fella. Poor little animated snail that is not real and doesn't exist. My heart hurt for him, but I just tried to remain calm. As SpongeBob continued to get more and more decayed, looking like a putrefied mess after every 10 seconds he became when he cried, he stopped, turned, and looked at the viewer. His skin was already a mucky-looking mess. He was a mucky boy, and he looked even more like carrion, wearing his trademark shirt, shoes, and little red tie. All lowercase SpongeBob ever did in the first video was cry, but he now started to speak. I'm not gonna do a SpongeBob voice. I'm sorry. It's a bit much. Let's pitch up my voice a little. So this is what it will take to talk to you, Evan. Evan was the name of one of the animators at the Nickelodeon animation studio for SpongeBob. Why couldn't it have been you to ask me as your wife instead of Stephanie? She doesn't love you. I loved you. You love that stupid dog, too, more than me, and I would have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for him. I know I was stupid to turn you down in high school, but I was a stupid girl back then, and I didn't know any better. I was young and stupid. You happy? You happy now, man? I wanted to be your lover, but I was too busy having my head up Eric's ass to even care. This is a soap opera. They've turned this run-of-the-mill lost episode creepypasta into a detective story lost episode soap opera. What a story! What a fucking ride! At least I'm enjoying myself. You're right. I was using Eric and making him look like a fool. I wanted to marry him. Teary boys. Teary boys. Yeah. But I was so young and stupid. Sniffles. Sniffles. You had every right to threaten me when I was messing with you. And your family. It was my own damn fault for costing you a lover those years ago. Screaming, crying. I had a mental illness, but I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid you would hate me forever. But I guess you do, don't you? Georgia told me not to kill your beautiful dog, but I went ahead and did it anyway. Manic laughter. I killed your fucking Malamute baby. The reason why I told Georgia about you is because I wanted her to know how sweet you were and how much I loved you. But I guess you're never gonna love me. Screams, cries hysterically. Aren't you? Since I was pregnant with our child, and I knew you were never gonna love me. I just thought I'd ruin your life by ruining your favorite cartoon. Oh my god. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's the dumbest thing. You call me crazy. I think killing this guy's dog is a bit worse than like custom making an episode of Spongebob Squarepants and making it all weird and quote unquote scary. I'm honestly feeling lightheaded right now. This is straining me. Entire paragraph. SpongeBob nearing decomp. Doesn't even have the brain cells to rub together to spell decomposition fully. Losing my shit here. Oh, thank God, I can see the rest of the story on my screen right now. As the lamentation commentary continued, SpongeBob now turned into a spooky, scary skeleton as the crying got more violent and he continued to talk. But as I said, this wasn't Tom Kenny's voice at all. You can tell this by the multiple mentions of how this is a woman talking in the last entire paragraph. Oh, I'm sorry, the second to last paragraph, because SpongeBob nearing decomp is its own paragraph. This was a mentally insane woman who had driven away every boyfriend she ever had because of her severe manic depression. She never admitted it to anyone because she thought it would have made her weak and everyone would leave her and she would go from popular to unpopular in the blink of an eye. She never once considered, like, getting medication. It's a bit of a hole in your story there. So you could admit it to, like, a medical professional, a doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, SpongeBob SquarePants. When SpongeBob started to become a graveyard-like skeleton, the inside of his house started to decay from years of neglect, the wallpaper peeling off the wall, and Gary now a putrefied mess. My best friend despite the fact that he remained calm, puked in a wastebasket. After seeing Gary, a dark green puddle of slime and rotting flesh, his shell now aged. It is a cartoon. It's a cartoon. Like, come on. Like, a real snail like that wouldn't make you puke. Give me a fucking break. Until you accept me back into your life, Evan, I'm gonna continue to wreak havoc on you, the animators at your precious Nickelodeon studio, and your little dog, too. Your friends, your family, and your life in general. You don't deserve Stephanie. Settles down. Intense crying now becomes soft weeping. I'm sorry you hate me. I'm sorry you don't want me back in your life. I know we can only be friends after I killed your dog and stalked you and made a custom episode of Spongebob Squarepants to scare you and ruin your favorite cartoon. But I don't care if you hate me or not. I still love you. So does Georgia. So do all my friends. Weeping as if she were sorry for everything. The next thing I remember seeing in this savage cartoon was, as the crying became less intense and softened, oddly, SpongeBob's furniture returned to his house, materializing on demand, popping back into place with a comical cartoony pop sound, the wallpaper appearing on the inside of his pineapple like new, a light shining from above on the now rotted away pile of sludge that was Gary, now bringing him back to life, while I heard an angelic heavenly choir singing, and a soothing twinkling sound, with stardust encircling him, returning him to his normal happy little self. Gary was alive! Hallelujah! Praise the Lord! What a whimsical ending this is turning out to be. Seeing him alive, but now on the floor where he once lay dead, was now producing his cute little snoring meows. The little guy was tired. SpongeBob himself started to come back to life, from being a rotting, putrefied skeleton to his normal spongy self. SpongeBob was still sad. He went over to where his sleeping snail was, gave him a kiss on one of his eye stalks, and walked back to his bedroom. Still in the woman's voice, I heard her say, very softly through her tears, "I'm sorry." Then a TV test pattern showed up at the end of the video after a cut to black sequence. Turns out, the lovesick, fatal attraction-esque woman was the one behind the Spongecry episode. She was at one point a sought-after horror film animator who just had a nervous breakdown after she had been dumped, which would explain SpongeBob turning into a ghoul around ghouls. Don't be a fool. Creator Steven Hillenburg reported the woman to the police and was scheduled to have her appear in court. She refused to testify. No crime has been committed! Except for the ones that she was already charged for. I'm blown away. I am blown away. And later committed suicide out of remorse. I was fortunate enough to delete part 2 of the Spongecry episode from my iPhone. And since this whole mystery was solved, I will be able to sleep better at night from now on, knowing that this episode was not the result of a morbid fan who was just like, hey, I'll make a weird episode because that'll be fun, and was instead the result of a heavily disturbed woman with mental illness that killed herself. That helps me sleep easier at night. A little post-mortem advice to the lovesick girl who made Evan's life a living hell. He said he didn't want to have anything to do with you, and is happy with his new wife in life. When a guy drops your ass, no means no, bitch. That's the line we're closing out on. Not because there is more story that I wish to omit, but because that is where the story fucking ends. When a guy drops your ass, no means no, bitch. What a story. Honest to God, what a fucking story. I'm blown the fuck away by how much worse this was than the original. I mean, I'm still not gonna call it worse than Squidward's suicide. I mean, objectively, in terms of just writing quality, absolutely worse than Squidward's suicide. But Squidward's suicide is just a lot worse to read. This was a fucking roller coaster ride. And even though it's taken me 45 minutes to talk about this, I could not be happier with how all of this turned out. Amazing. Just amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me read it as much as I enjoyed actually reading it. It says show discussion 3. Looks like there's, oh, I guess there's 2 comments only. So let's read both of them. This is so fucking bad, this isn't even creepy. It's just terrible. Goddamn, what is this, a fucking soap opera? Jesus, exactly my thoughts. Thank you, Excalibur. And Jack, all he has to say is amazing. I would like to leave. Oh, I gotta log in to Quotev. Well, that's not happening anytime soon. So just final thoughts on it. Okay, I have one question that in all of this wall of lore was never answered. Who sent him the second video on his phone? Like, just as he's starting to investigate this? 'Cause the lady killed herself. So, also, where did he find the first one? Yeah, he just found the first one in some fucking notepad document in his System 32. So, like, the means of him getting the fucking videos are enormously contrived. But thank God he found them, because we got to read through 2 of arguably the funniest stories I have ever gone through. I'm honestly not sure if part 2 was written as a joke. It was so bad. So thank you, all of you, for watching this video of me reading an amazing story. So yes. I'm left without words. I am left without words. Hopefully you can come up with some words for me, because this has been... I'm looking through the end of the first one right now. Fucking... There's so much in the first one that's not explained. Like the Aklads Jiao Ao 4F thing. Like how the story just ends on that like it's important. No, it's never brought up. It's just like the origin of the video itself and the one-timed action will be badly thing. That's it. And it's just like, the last paragraph, the first story, after seeing this video, I've never been the same. I've been angrier, crueler, and more anxious than ever before. It's just like, I wish I could go back in Aklads Jiao Ao 4F. Like, that's never explained. Like, this implies that it kills him or something. That there's some sort of paranormal event going on here as a direct result of the video. No, it's just, like, this last sentence never happened. What a story. Alright, thank you all for watching. Here's description stuff, links to stuff. I'm gonna go vomit, because this has been terrible. But it's been the best kind of terrible. The kind of terrible that you can only get here on Fish Stick on a Stick. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.